Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of the show in which we just talk to people kind of about their faith journeys. For those of you who don't know, my name is Tori and I'm going to be interviewing our guest here. And our guest here today is a little extra special to me because this is my younger brother, Adam. And I'm going to be talking with Adam about grief. Grief is going to be kind of our main topic of discussion. Because almost a year ago, Adam and I lost our mom to ovarian cancer. So we'll both kind of be discussing it a little bit. So Adam, to get started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your faith?
I've been surrounded by faith most of my life. I've gone to church for most of my life. I've gone to a Christian school. I've always had a strange relationship with religion. Like growing up, I'm guessing our parent, well, even parent could probably testify to this, that I've always been one to ask questions, but I never disbelieve. Don't take it for that. I just ask questions for how things work.
Yeah, you have always been that way. Just always curious. So to kind of get things started here, why don't you tell us about losing mom and what that was like for you, and like some of the thoughts and feelings that you kind of dealt with.
I remember when I first heard the news my mother was dying, I was waiting at home. I was playing video games. I remember the video game, I won't get to that, but I was sitting in my room, which is in the basement, and Andrew, our older cousins Andrew and Dave came by. Dave told me, can you come out to the big room, we need to talk. Sat down, and they told me my mother was dying and that she might not even make it through that night. She made it through that night, and it wasn't until a week later she died. I remember when I first heard the news, it didn't really set in yet. It took me a second before I actually broke down and cried. Actually, what really set me off was when I first looked at a picture of Mom after hearing the news. It has been a difficult process. It never completely goes away as much as it just scabs, leaves a scar. It doesn't just heal completely.
It definitely is a very numb feeling, like you almost don't even know how to describe it when you hear that news and when you learn that someone you are so close to and love is gonna pass away. So what were like the biggest struggles for you in losing mom and going through all that?
Finally admitting to myself that I was grieving. Throughout the process, I wasn't always the first person who would break down. I would stubbornly refuse to shed a tear. It took me a while before I actually finally did break down. And that's admitting to myself that I'm grieving was probably one of the biggest struggles I had throughout the entire process.
Yeah, and I think too a little bit it's like you want to be strong for everyone else around you, and you don't want to break down in front of everybody, but yet it's one of those you can't always control. What were some of your biggest struggles from a Christian perspective in losing mom and going through the grief of losing mom?
I remember around the time when I heard Mom was diagnosed, I remember asking my uncle, I've always heard that God says he will never send you something you can't handle, and I told him flat out, I don't know how or if we can handle this. And it's been a big struggle dealing with the fact that an all-powerful creator allowed me to lose my mother.
Yeah.
Someone who could bring her back at any moment won't give her back. Someone he took her away from us.
Yeah. So then, how has dealing with grief affected your faith, like as a whole?
Like before, I still have questions. I still question things. It's shaken my faith, but it hasn't destroyed it. I'm still quite a strong believer. I could say I don't go to church anymore, but it was long before that I haven't gone to the church for personal reasons. But I would say it's shaken it, but it hasn't destroyed it. I still hold a strong faith. I still begrudgingly accept what God tells me and what the reality is.
Yeah, it definitely is something that it rattles you when you go through something like that, and it does leave you questioning God, like why is it that she had to die? Why is it that we had to go through this? And I definitely feel you there too. I went through some of this similar things. So now, when you go through grief, people say you go through this journey of healing, although I don't necessarily think you ever fully heal from something like that. But what has your journey towards healing been like for you?
Accepting that that I won't be seeing my mother again was a big one. And also my mother was probably one of the people I was closest to, and I've had trouble accepting other people basically accepting other people into that portion of me that needed a figure like my mother, someone who I can trust to talk to and tell her everything about me. And no, I still haven't told people everything about me, but no one does.
How's your faith played a part in your journey towards healing?
It's definitely made it easier in some respects and made it difficult in other respects. It's made it easier because I can always look back on this and say, I can see how this might fit into God's plan as a whole. But at other times it makes it more difficult because it's hard to say, why did you have to do this? Why did you have to take my mother?
I do definitely got to say, I don't know how people who don't have God as their lives go through something like this without God, because I think God definitely, for me at least, carried me through a lot, even when I was questioning Him. So I definitely don't know how people do it without that faith, but even with the faith, it still is a difficult thing to go through. And even now that it's a year later, that pain is definitely always still there from losing mom. At least for me, it's still there. It's still raw. It still hurts to lose someone so close to you that you love so much. So tell us where you're at right now in your grief, a year out.
If I'd have to say the wound has fully turned into a scar. It doesn't sting as bad anymore. That's my final answer.
Yeah. I agree there. It doesn't hurt as bad. It still hurts. It's like a really bad wound. The pain is always still there. It just is less than what it was before. So what's your walk with God like right now, and having gone through this whole grieving thing?
Finally acknowledging who He is again. I was angry with Him, and it's forgiving myself and allowing myself to begrudgingly accept Him again. In a way, it's hard to describe really, but that's the best way I can put it. Is
So to kind of try to wrap this up a little bit, what advice do you have for people in handling grief and going through the grieving process as a follower of Christ?
my best advice is, it's hard to give advice because no matter what advice I give, it will never be the right advice. And even from my standpoint, I know every time someone gave advice, they meant well, but it was never there was no right advice to give. The best thing I can say is grieve at your own pace. Don't just try yourself to fit into a bubble of, this is how I have to grieve. Grieve the way you need to.
I do have to agree with that because everyone definitely grieves differently and goes through it differently. Some people handle it worse than others, and it definitely is something you do have to handle at your own pace. And if you are questioning God, it is an okay thing, I think, to question God and to ask God those questions and to just go to God and be like, why? Because He wants you to go to Him. That's the big thing. I know I personally did that a lot in the beginning, is I just questioned Him a lot. Why is it? Why? Definitely.
The final thing I can really say as an advice is just try to get up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Try to survive to the next day.
Yeah. Take it baby steps. You know, you don't have to wake up the next morning and be like, yep, I'm over it now. I can go about my life like it was before, because the truth is that isn't how it works. You know, take it baby steps, take it a little bit at a time, walk through it, talk with God all you can. Any other advice you have?
Nope.
So, I really hope this has helped you guys if you are going through grieving at all, or if you know someone going through grieving. It definitely is one of those hard things, and there probably is no perfect advice for it because it is so different for everyone, but I hope this definitely touched you guys and helped you guys in some way. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Feel free to weigh in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.